everyone, I've got a best bits tutorial for you today. This clip is taken from my video on wide opening zipper pouches, and I'm showing you how I hand sew closed, turning holes in my linings. I'm going to take my needle and some thread. I'm going to cut a fairly long piece of thread, pass it through my needle, doubling it over, and then tying a knot at the end. Going to the inside of my lining and starting in the section of the base where it is sewn on the sewing machine, I'm going to pass that needle through the seam allowance to get it nice and secure in there with that knot. And then I will continue along, going from one side to the other, directly across. First stitch is still within that seam allowance. I prefer to use a stronger thread if I have the correct color for this, as it can withstand a bit more tension when you pull the threads tight. And you definitely want to have your memory fold there so that you know where to place your stitch to get the lining well opposed. And I'm placing a stitch about every 3/16 of an inch. You can do closer than that if you like. It just becomes a lot of stitches as long as it is secure. So you can kind of see where the fold is there. So I'm going to be putting the point of my needle straight into that fold and then back up out in the line of the fold. Check that the thread is not getting tangled. That's why you don't want your thread to be too long. And then I'm just going to go from one side directly across to the other one and repeat. Poke the needle out, pull it through. You can keep a few stitches loose and then tighten them all at once, or you can tighten it as you go. When you've done a few stitches, if you pull on your thread, it will just help those edges to nicely oppose each other. And then just going to continue all the way across till you get to the other end. And then you will tie your thread off again once you're a little bit past the opening and tuck that in through your lining. It does get a little trickier when you get towards the end. So you just want to take care to make sure that you're poking your needle right into the crease and trying to sew directly across from your stitch as you pass to the other side. Once you come up to the other end, you want to try to bury your knot between the layers. So I'm going to tie my knot just a little looser than where the end of my thread is. And then I'm going to tuck that between the layers. Come up further down my seam. And just pull that knot in between. Then I can snip the thread here. If you're not happy with your stitch placement, you can always go over it again. If you're happy with that, tuck your lining in. And then you're all done. I'll link the full tutorial in the video description. Hope that helps. Thanks everyone.